Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, it's time for a new crop of heroes. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with ya. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I'm joined, as I'm always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. How's it going, Mark?
It's going great. I have to tell you about the raccoon encounter
Oh, no.
I had last night.
Okay.
So
Singular raccoon?
singular, as far as I know,
Okay.
singular raccoon. I was walking out to my car, which is parked next to my house,
Yes.
and I came through through my kitchen, so the backyard, through the side gate. My car was parked in
I
front
can
of the side
picture this
gate.
perfectly because I
Yeah.
know what all this looks
exactly.
like.
And so there's kind of like a fence that's that's like to the left of where the car is parked,
Yes.
and the outside light, like the floodlight, had not triggered yet by my motion. And so I walked a little in front of the car to trigger the light, and so I waved my hands a little bit, and then
And then there was a raccoon there waving back.
and then the light comes on,
Yeah.
and from behind me I hear this hissing noise, like a vampire getting caught in the sun.
Right.
And I turn around, and coming around the side of the fence, like as I was walking up, was a raccoon, and we were both very startled.
Hissing at you?
Hissing at the light?
Yeah,
Hissing
okay,
at
sure. Right,
my
right.
presence. We were both very surprised. But I didn't know what to do. I ran. But I'm worried.
Well, hold on. You ran back into the house.
Yeah,
you ran
yeah,
into
yeah.
the car. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I basically retreated with post haste.
Right.
But now I'm worried
Does
that I
post-haste-
seeded.
What's post haste? That just means right away, right?
I think so.
With haste.
That's how I'm using
after
it.
haste.
Let's see.
Let's
What
look up
what
post
does
haste.
post haste
Post
mean?
haste. Because I always just you do something post haste. That's just I think that just means in a hurry.
I think so. I think so too. At least that's how I'm using it. So let's find
Right.
out. With all possible speed.
With all possible speed, you ran
Uh-huh.
back into the house.
Yes. In the 16th century, the phrase haste, post haste, that's haste, comma, post, comma, haste,
Right.
was used to inform posts, as couriers were then called, that a letter was urgent and must be hastily delivered.
So haste post haste is like Bond James Bond.
No. It's like, quickly, Patrick, quickly.
Yeah.
Or like, quickly, podcaster, quickly.
Right. Bond James Bond.
No, I don't think so.
It's the word it's the A word, comma,
Uh-huh.
B word, A word.
Okay, but like in the scenario of James Bond, it's
Right.
somebody's
Right.
name.
Right.
But haste
post-
post haste is not,
But post is referring to someone.
yes, a person.
Yeah.
And then you're telling that person to hurry.
Right.
You're not telling James to bond.
That is true, and I am being intentionally obtuse right now. Okay,
So I retreated
so
to
you
the house
ran into
post
the
haste.
house, yeah.
But now I'm a little worried that I ceded ground too quickly.
Yeah.
And what I should have done
Is made yourself real big.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because now the raccoon probably just thinks the place is his.
Maybe. A raccoon does not like to... Look, you made him recoil from the light, right? Like,
Yeah.
maybe that was enough to assert dominance.
Maybe it was I hope that's true.
Right.
Maybe it was a vampiric raccoon.
Okay.
And
this is
that's
interesting,
why-
Right?
That's why the light, although it wasn't the sun.
Yeah, but you would think that, like, a light bulb with enough lumens or
Uh-huh.
something would kick out light that could harm a vampire raccoon.
And also, if you're a vampire or a vampire raccoon,
Yeah.
if it's night and you're out doing your business and a light
right.
suddenly comes on,
You may
your
think-
initial reaction is going to be
oh shoot,
is
that's the
his.
sun.
Is his.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
But then you know, a moment later, it might
Right.
click in to be like, oh, it's not the sun.
There's no
Hiss
way.
retracted.
That's right. I withdraw. What time of night was this that you were headed to your
This was
car?
like 11:30 maybe.
Okay, so pretty late.
Yeah.
Okay. Where were we going at 11:30?
I wasn't going anywhere.
I
I
see.
was going to put the sun shield up in the windshield
Got it.
because it's been like a cajillion degrees.
It's been a cajillion degrees. Also, if you were headed somewhere like at 11:30 at night last night, me asking you about it is a little bit intrusive. Like, I maybe shouldn't have done
No,
that.
I would tell you. I would tell everybody on this podcast. Anybody can ask me anytime where I'm going. That's
all
fine
right,
by me.
all right. So that's the promise. Get in the Discord. Ask Mark where he's going. You can get into the Discord by emailing us at Nintendo Cartridge Society
At gmail.com.
and I will send you an invitation to the Discord. Things are happening all out of order here, so now I'm going to go back and say, if you want to support us, you can do so on Patreon, patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where we are, if you are supporting us at the 8-bit or 16-bit levels, you get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries that we're doing. We are currently nearing the end of Season 1 of NCS Arcade, but NCS Arcade continues on into the future.
That's right. And in Season 1 of NCS Arcade, Patrick and I have been playing games available on Nintendo Switch Online and Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack that we've never beaten before. And we are very soon going to be talking about Earthbound. We'll
Yes.
probably record that episode this weekend. So if you have anything to say about Earthbound, if you have memories of playing Earthbound, if you have questions about Earthbound, if you have opinions about Earthbound, anything Earthbound related, email it to us.
Yes.
We would love to receive those and talk about those in special like listener email episodes that we do as well.
Right, which are available to everyone who follows us on Patreon. We just released the Metroid email episode. So if you are following us for free or at the 4, 8, or 16-bit levels, you can listen to those episodes there. And then the one last thing is that we are going to be releasing the NCS Detective Club miniseries to 4-bit patrons on July 1st.
Yep, that's right.
And that's where we've done all the business out of order. So Ninja Turtles, my source book, issues 1, 2, and 3 are in comic book stores now. So check those out if you're interested. Pre-order issue 4, which will come out sometime.
And one of these episodes, we're going to learn when exactly
one of those we will learn. Yes,
the fourth issue comes out.
But it is not this episode, Mark. All right, let's get into the main topic. Let's put non-protagonist Nintendo characters into the protagonist role in their series. There's got to be a cleaner way to say this. So obviously we're cued off of The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom here, shown off in the June Nintendo Direct. We got an email from Chariot Goblin who writes, "Hey NCS, with the announcement of a new Zelda actually starring Zelda, Nintendo is publishing a surprising amount of games starring female protagonists this year. In January, we had Another Code Recollection. In March, we had Princess Peach Showtime. In September, Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom will release. Can we call Nintendo's 2024 the Year of Ladies?" You can change the name if you want, Chariot Goblin. Is this the Year of Ladies?
That's a good point.
It's a good point.
I hadn't
and a
really
good
thought
question.
about it. Definitely an underserved demographic when it comes to video game protagonists.
Yes.
And make up a large portion of the Switch's audience.
Right. And I know that like something like Princess Peach Showtime does, like Sarah started to play it. Previous guest on the show, Ryan Mogi, played it, is currently playing it. And so like it is just like a draw, like it, you know. Yeah, I think there should be more of these things, of course. So I'm comfortable calling this the year of the ladies.
The Year of the Ladies.
Right.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Lady year.
Lady Year.
It's lady year. Let's call it. It's hard to say though.
That is hard to say.
The consecutive
Lady
Y's.
Year.
Lady year.
The human mouth was not meant to form that.
We're going to the Discord. What should we call the year? This Year of Ladies. Year of Ladies is okay, but let's see if we can beat that. But also cued off of the idea of the Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Mark and I thought it would be good to take a look at other Nintendo series that have characters that have not traditionally been the lead in the games, and sort of projecting what it would mean for the game to change the protagonist.
Yeah,
right?
because one of the things that's so interesting to me about Echoes of Wisdom is that it's not a spin-off title, right? It's not like a Princess Peach
Right.
Showtime.
Right.
It's not Legend like Zelda Wisdom or whatever.
Yeah, and it's not like a Yoshi game. Like it's not. It's
Right.
yeah.
Right, and then there's it's a mainline Zelda game, and
Mhm.
then they thought about what does a mainline Zelda game look like if Zelda's the protagonist?
Yes.
How would that affect the gameplay?
Right. And in some ways, like it looks like the bones of it are a Zelda game, specifically Link's Awakening, right?
Right.
But the very specific like gameplay gimmick or like loop is unique to like how Zelda would have to control that. Like you'll be coming up with solutions to puzzles, applying your own wisdom to not combat things directly, but to sort of kind of puzzle your way around it.
So we each have a handful, 3 to 5
Mm-hmm.
examples.
Our classic 3 to 5.
Classic 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Examples of taking that Echoes of Wisdom idea,
Yes.
taking a secondary character, sometimes an NPC, making them the protagonist in the mainline series.
Right. So this is not we very specifically were like these are not going to be like spin-off games.
Because there's been lots of spin-offs where that has happened, right?
Sure.
I mean, Mario has a ton of them.
Right.
Luigi's Mansion is a spin-off where
Wario Land. Yeah.
the Yoshi series.
Exactly.
But that's not what we want to do here.
No. We want to do where it's still like a mainline entry in the series or an entry in the mainline series, but just the focus has shifted to another character, and therefore like the values of the player character and what they can do are shifted to align with the sort of like personality of that character.
Yep.
So I think we've done enough table setting. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
Go. You. I feel like you should go first.
Okay. So there are a couple here that I feel like I've probably voiced or like half mused on this podcast before, because you and I have been talking about Nintendo twice a week for the last 7 years. And so this first one, I love the WarioWare games, right? I every time they come out, I'm like, those are day one purchases for me. I get a little bummed out when they're over after an hour and a half of gameplay, but I always enjoy that hour and a half. But specifically, there's a like 12-minute segment in every single one of these games that I love more than anything else. And it's the 9-volt sections. Because 9-volt is, when you do the 9-volt sections, all the mini games are based around classic Nintendo franchises and classic Nintendo games, usually using a lot of the like pixel art or non-pixel art that's present from all those games. And so this would be a WarioWare game that stars 9-volt, and all the micro games are retro Nintendo-inspired micro games.
Oh, that's a fun idea. Like filtering it all through his love of retro gaming.
Yes. And like maybe he opens his own studio that instead of like making a new game, they are like curate. He works for like a I can't think of the name of any of the companies that like put out classic games on, but like that's
Digital Eclipse.
Sure, like Digital Eclipse or Hamster, right?
Sure. Oh yeah, the Arcade Archive series.
Yeah. So like that could be like the whole story like framing element, and then all of the micro games would just be you doing balloon fight stuff or petting the Nintendo or whatever. And you could almost do this without making any new micro games, because 9-volt has appeared in every version of the WarioWare series. You just like take all of those and dump them into one game.
I also like because the framing device of a lot of the WarioWare games is that Wario Inc. Like Wario has created this company,
right? WarioWare. Yeah.
That he creates these games to make as much money as possible, and then doesn't share it with his employees. Right. So 9-volt is creating like a rival company.
Yeah.
That he maybe it's a co-op And so he like all of
Sure.
the employees, they're all profit sharing to really stick it to Wario.
Yeah, that's right. And he like makes everyone go home at 5:30
Yeah,
every
that's
day.
right.
And they don't have unlimited vacation hours because everyone knows that when you have an unlimited like PTO policy that like people don't actually take their time off. It's strictly enforced. You have to take your 4.5 weeks of vacation every year. Yeah, he's a good boss.
He's a good boss.
He's a good boss. So that's my first one is a WarioWare : this is my sort of follow up. Should we come up with like the subtitles for all these series?
Ooh, we certainly could.
So like WarioWare, the first one is like Mega Micro Games Inc. So maybe it could be like WarioWare Retro Games Inc.
Oh yeah, that's good. I like that.
Okay, great.
Well, for my first one, I will match your Wario with a Wario of my own.
I love this.
And this is from the Wario Land series. And my proposal is that the Wario Land antagonist, Captain Syrup,
yes,
becomes the main playable character in this new game. Captain Syrup is a pirate, a treasure-loving pirate who is like either tricks like in Wario Land Shake It, she tricks Wario into stealing the treasure for her.
Right.
In like the first Wario Land game, so Super Mario Land 3, he steals treasure from her and then she gets it back. So the way I would think this works is that it's still a platformer because that's what the Wario Land series is.
Yes.
Wario is loud and gross. That's his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Syrup is cunning and deceptive.
Yes.
So make it more explicitly a puzzle platformer where you are like racing against Wario to steal rare treasures. And then I was like, ooh, what should the setting be? And you're stealing them from past games in the Mario and Wario series.
Whoa.
So it's almost like an Avengers
Endgame.
Sure. You have to like you're traveling through.
Right, you need to get
different...
like Ant-Man and the Hulk need to team up to conquer time travel, and Iron Man, sure. I guess he was the one who really cracked it. But yeah, no, that's fun. I like the sort of like tour throughout like history there, and then also like setting it up as a little bit of a more explicitly puzzle platformer, I think is fun. Does it almost then have a little bit of like a Mario versus Donkey Kong vibe to it, or like obviously longer levels than that, right? Something more in the vein of Wario Land.
Yeah, well, longer levels than that, because I was thinking instead of being like a Mario versus Donkey Kong where it's, hey, here's these 1 or 2 screens, and it is very explicitly a puzzle game. I was thinking about it more like the slow, because some of the Wario Land games, the whole thing slows down a little bit.
Right.
But then, as in like the platforming is more about how am I going to get from A to B. And in maybe like the first couple of Wario Land games, it changes a little bit later in the series. But in the first couple of them, it's like, okay, you take damage or things happen to you and that transform you.
Right.
And then you use those transformations.
You get flattened or you get burned up or you get turned into a zombie or whatever.
Right. And you use those transformations in order to make your way through the levels. I was thinking this would be less that and more still kind of like that slower paced, exploration based levels. But it would be a full, like Wario Land level size, not just like 1 or 2 screens. But it is a more like Maybe like braid levels is more what I'm thinking. You know what I mean?
Right, sure.
Where it's like,
okay, you already have a time travel component here. Well, with the Hulk and all.
Right.
Yeah, but forget it. No time rewinding. But like you're saying that the puzzling is a little bit more puzzle platformy.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that's fun. Do we have a subtitle for this? So it'd be like Wario Land : Syrup's Revenge.
Syrup's Sweet Treasure Hunt.
Syrup's Sweet. How about Sweet Syrup's Treasure Hunt?
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Well, she's a captain. I think we should respect.
Sure. Okay, Captain.
I think we should respect
Captain Syrup's Sweet Treasure Hunt. Why is sweet in there?
The syrup part, I guess.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. Wario Land, Captain Syrups. Well, here's the thing. We don't have to explicitly call out the character's name because
Yeah,
they
you're
don't
right.
in
You're
like,
right.
it's not like Legend of Zelda.
Right.
Zelda's Echoes of Wisdom.
Right. So it could be
It's
like
just like Wario Land.
Treasure Race.
Yes. Yeah, there we go.
We'll go with Treasure Race.
And then in Europe they'll call it like the Land of Treasure Race or something like that.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That's good. That's. I mean, I'm always up for playing a new Wario Land game. But it definitely Wario Land as a series like needs a. I mean, either just like a straightforward another one of them to come out, or like some sort of reinvention.
Right.
And I think putting a different character at the center of it would be huge.
Do you know what this made me realize when
What's
I was reading about the Wario Land series? Is I never played Master of Disguise or whatever it's called on the DS.
Yeah, I didn't either. I also didn't play Wario World on
the GameCube one.
Yeah.
Things to just file away.
Things that, just be like in the future, look, we're going to need episodes of NCS Arcade. We're just put them all away. Okay, so now for my second one, I'm going to do a Zelda. Leave me alone. Echoes of Wisdom, that doesn't have to be the only one.
It doesn't.
I can do a Zelda.
Uh-huh.
This is another game concept that I've had in my head for a long time. One of those thoughts that creeps in and is like, I live here now, you know? And you're like, no, get out of my brain. I need that for like remembering my mom's phone number. And it's like, no, I stay here. You got the area code, and then you got to guess at the back 7. So this is a Zelda game starring Ganondorf.
Oh, very good.
And it's Ganondorf in the sort of afterlife, between life. He's been vanquished by Link, and you are basically conquering hell so you can return to Hyrule.
Oh, very good.
And so because it's Ganondorf, everything is action-based. Everything is conquering-based. You're traveling around the underworld. You're finding these different, links to the world above and destroying them or conquering them. You're finding other, monsters that are going to join your, army against Link when you're resurrected, and you are making them submit to your rule by beating them in battle. Everything is just won by battle.
And is it still structured like a Legend of Zelda game?
Yes. So I mean, this would in my mind, it's a 3D Zelda style game, kind of more in the vein of Ocarina of Time. But I've always sort of imagined it as you get to decide how you construct your army against Link. Do you go after the ability to turn into a giant pig monster? You can do that if you want. What bosses do you recruit to your side? Where are you going to try to win influence over the royalty of Hyrule? And it's all these different paths back to life, and you get to sort of decide which one you're going to take. But the thing is, every single one of them, there's no quest where you're trading items to whatever, or buying stuff. You walk into a shop and there's a shield in there that you want. You crack the shopkeeper's head open and take it.
I like it. It's I can't think of a Nintendo game that really has a morality system.
Yes.
In the Bethesda RPGs,
right?
Where it's you can either be good, right, or bad in this situation.
Right.
You can help the ghoul and hopefully get a reward at the end, or you can just blow up the entire ghoul settlement,
right?
And
never have to worry about ghouls again.
Exactly. So those are your two binary choices. And in games, I always end up playing.
You end up playing
good. And so a game that doesn't,
yes,
it removes the choice.
Right.
It's just no, all of your decisions are going to be the evil path.
But what version of evil do you want to be, right? And I think setting it in the sort of afterlife or the between life world of Hyrule, first of all, a fun mythological place for us to explore, right? But then also, how bad can you really feel about tearing up armies of souls and stuff, right?
Right.
I think it's okay. So now, And the game ends like as you ascend to Hyrule, right? Like you don't actually get to do like the final Link fight. It's just like
Because you know
however
you're always
break
going to
free.
be defeated.
You're always going to be defeated,
Mhm.
right? And then it can be sort of a I don't know where we want to like slot this in the timeline, but it can go between basically any two Zelda games. All right. So what is this one called? And I feel like Echoes of Wisdom has set a template for us in that it should be something of power.
Yeah, fist.
Fist of power?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or like Blade of Power?
Oh, Blade of Power.
Let's go Blade of Power.
Yes.
Legend of Zelda Blade of Power. All right. Mark?
All right, my next one comes from the Kirby series.
Yes.
And so it's a Kirby game that is starring Meta Knight.
Okay, now, Sarah asked me earlier, what are you talking about on this episode? And I said, I tried to explain it as best I could. It was clumsy then, just as it was clumsy moments ago when I explained it to the audience. And she said, what about a Kirby game starring that guy with the little sword?
Yeah, I mean, great minds think alike. That is, Sarah, I agree with you completely. A Kirby game starring Meta Knight.
Yes.
Because if you take away Meta Knight's like mask and everything,
he's just a Kirby, right?
He's just a blue Kirby.
Right.
Okay, so here's my pitch for this game. Obviously, faster movement, because Meta Knight is known for his speed and his ability to teleport. So rather than the gameplay hook being copying enemies' abilities,
which would be weird for Meta Knight. He doesn't really suck anyone up, right?
He doesn't.
He just has a sword.
Exactly.
Right.
But he does have those like wings.
He's got wings,
on his back.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I was trying to figure out are the wings like part of his body, or is it his cape that is transforming?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
And different games have different answers.
Right.
And so for the purposes of this game, I'm saying that it is his cowl, that it is like his cape that is causing this, because that means that other enemies in the world can also be wearing capes. And so instead of like inhaling them and taking their abilities, what he does is they're wearing different capes that have different attributes. And so he steals their capes, and when he's wearing them, it gives him other ways of movement. So he can have his wings that allow for that little bit of teleportation that he does, but also maybe you grab a cape and suddenly he has big old like gorilla arms coming out of his little body, and he can use them to like
vault
grab
himself
forward and like grab onto vines. Or maybe he has like the Jack's enemies, instead of throwing bombs, they give him ultra hands, and so he can like grab enemies from afar.
Sure.
Because Kirby
more grappling hooky.
Yes,
yeah.
Grappling. Like Kirby and Meta Knight, they don't really have big ol' arms. Like they don't have a long reach. Kirby uses it by like sucking things up. But you give Meta Knight like these extendo arms. Plus he still's got his sword for basic combat.
He has to have his sword. What I like, and let me know if I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, but like, so Kirby, when he swallows enemies, he usually gains like an attack ability, an ability to be offensive in a way that he doesn't normally have. Meta Knight doesn't need a new way to be offensive. He has a sword, but he may need new methods of mobility.
Well, I feel like the big differentiator is, yes, he always has a sword, but Kirby can have a sword sometimes, but he has like quick movement. And that's what I want to accentuate. Yes. That's what I want to play with.
Right. So he's like Sonic the Hedgehog.
That's right. He loves chili dogs.
He's also kind of like Tails, because he's got those wings so he can fly a little bit.
Yeah. And I'm sure in some way he's like Biggs the cat.
Yeah. I think it's just Big the cat.
Could be.
I don't...
Haste. Post haste.
Yes. Cat. Big the cat. This is good. I like a game starring Meta Knight. I know Meta Knight has been like the like featured character in like some of the side modes of Kirby games, and like since Star Allies, I know he's been like a playable character.
Right.
But I like the idea of like putting him like front and center. And for both of these, I like that all of our games so far have been like kind of paired up nicely, where it's like they're Wario ones, and then it's like villain ones, kind of, or like more violent versions of them. But so yeah, like he's probably still defending Dreamland, right?
That's what I'm imagining.
Or Planet
like
Popstar.
Maybe it is like an Echoes of Wisdom thing, where because him and Kirby, like they're sometimes antagonists, but other times they're more just like they might not be best friends, but I think they have a mutual respect.
Well, they just
And
had to they had to team up so frequently to like take on an eldritch horror from beyond like hell space, right?
Right.
So
And so maybe this eldritch horror from beyond hell space shows up and incapacitates Kirby.
Sure.
And so it's up to Meta Knight. And maybe Meta Knight, has it's like a Team Discovery Channel type thing where Meta Knight does have some of Kirby's pals.
Yeah.
Like hanging around.
Sure. He's got to hang out with Waddle Dees.
He has to hang out with Waddle Dees. Just, and look, that's not normally his vibe.
No.
But that's the role he's been casted.
It's what he has to do. He's
Yep.
got to step up. All right. So Kirby games are hard in that like they're all named nonsense, right?
Yeah.
So like could this be like Kirby Darkstar or something like that?
Absolutely could be Kirby Darkstar.
Let's call it Kirby Darkstar.
Very good.
Now, as is always the way we have to decide, is this possessive or is it just Kirby Darkstar?
I think it would be very funny because this is a game not starring Kirby, if it ended
Yes.
up being Kirby's Darkstar.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Kirby's Darkstar. Very good. Very excited to play Kirby's Darkstar. Next up, I cheated. I've got an example here of a game that is not actually published by Nintendo.
Oh, very good.
But is a game that I obviously associate with the original NES, one of my favorite game series. I'm, of course, referring to Mega Man. Love the Mega Man games. I think they're tons of fun. I like going through those levels in whatever order I want and collecting weapons from the Robot Masters and then using those to beat other Robot Masters. You know what character I like in Mega Man who doesn't get enough play? Rush the dog. Rush is Mega Man's dog introduced in Mega Man 3 that he has like 3 different modes in that game. One is that he becomes like a little spring platform that you can like jump off of and you jump real high. One where he's a jet and you just sort of like barrel forward and like fly through the air. And then there's a submarine transformation. And I thought, what if the whole game was just different Rush transformations? You still have like 8 different pet themed robot masters, right? So there's like a cat, there's a parrot, there's like a hamster, right?
That's very funny.
A horse, whatever. And so you go to like each one of them, and from each one of them, instead of getting a new weapon, because Rush isn't like really an offensive character, you just get a different mode of transportation. So like one of them you can be like a motorcycle, one of them you could be like some sort of like climber thing that like goes up on walls and ceilings. There'd be like the jet thing, all of this sort of stuff, so that instead of being a like action platformer, it's more of a pure platformer with some like vehicle elements kind of rolled into it. Still like 8-bit presentation, still like side scrolling, 8 robot bosses, and then like whatever Dr. Wily's pet rabbit is. You know?
I love this. I also love the idea that in your head you're picturing it as 8-bit. Like it feels like it needs to be that Mega Man 9, Mega Man 10.
Absolutely,
like,
yes.
Inti creates,
Yes.
like a retro style Mega Man game.
Yes.
But starring his dog best friend.
Yeah. And I don't know what we call this. Is it just like Mega Man K9?
I think it is Mega Man K9.
It's Mega Man K9.
Yeah.
But this one was very exciting to me, just like because I know they don't like explore. Yeah, obviously, like the X series got like Zero games because Zero is such a like cool character that like let me swing that lightsaber around. But like beyond that, like I know Roll is a playable character in like some fighting games and other stuff like that. But like let's dig a little deeper and get to an even stranger character like Rush.
Yeah. Ooh, that'd be a lot of fun. I love the idea of Rush having to, like, the robot masters being different household pets.
Yes.
Basically. Like a goldfish in a tank.
That'd be so good. Yeah, and he could be like submarine fish or whatever. But yeah, so they would all have to have that same format of like the single word and then like just the animal that they are. So it'd be like motorcycle horse and like climbing tarantula. I think it'd be fun.
Very good.
Mega Man K9.
I'd love it.
Okay, and it's like the letter K-9.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, great.
Okay, my next one, it comes from the Luigi's Mansion series.
Love this.
And
I very nearly did a Luigi's Mansion one.
And it stars Professor Egad.
Yes.
So you're still exploring a haunted space, in this case, a haunted university. and you're still, and maybe Professor E, maybe this is a prequel.
I was going to ask, is this hot young EGAD?
Maybe it is hot young it's the hot young EGAD that we've all
Sure.
just been craving.
Sure. So this is college years?
This is, I'm going to say he's still a professor.
Okay, all right.
But he's a
like
young
a TA.
professor. He's a young professor,
Okay,
but he's
all
a
right.
doctor.
Okay.
But so Professor EGAD,
Mm-hmm.
so he's exploring a haunted university, still clearing out ghosts. All of that is still true.
Right.
But the main mechanic becomes crafting. So instead of just being gifted like a poltergust or something like that, as you explore the university buildings, you source parts, and you're kind of like weak at this point. But then you have to run back to your lab, and you craft
whatever ghost
things
busting,
of your choice.
exactly.
Yeah, like ghost busting tools of your choice, and then you're able to go out and defeat the ghost. And maybe there is a little bit of that like Breath of the Wild sprinkle of inspiration in it, where it's like, hey, we provide you with the tools, and it's up to you to decide how you you combine them to defeat certain ghosts. And so it's not all just about having, like a poltergust and then a poltergust with water or poltergust with fire. Like,
right.
Maybe it's a little bit more than that.
Sure. And then you had to like figure out where you would even get access to like those elements of things, either in the environment or that you like can craft a machine that like generates those things.
Yeah.
But like still all in like the Luigi's Mansion engine, right?
Exactly.
Like, that's
still
that same
like
sort of like static, almost diorama presentation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. And I am intrigued by the idea of hot young EGAD. Because just I want to know more about that.
Right.
Is the haunted university that he's exploring? Is that the university that he teaches at?
No. Good question, but it's not.
Right.
He's invited, he thinks, to be a guest instructor.
Oh, sure, like a fellowship or something.
Exactly. So he gets this mysterious letter in the mail,
right,
being like, "Hey, come to our university.
Mm-hmm.
We invite you to be a guest lecturer here." But then he shows up, and it's like, "What's the deal with all the hauntedness?"
Right. And are there any living people there, or have the ghosts like tempted him there so they can get rid of him?
Yeah, maybe this is the school where baby Mario and baby Luigi and baby Peach and like grow up to go to.
Okay.
So when they're like college year Mario and college year Luigi and in college year Peach, which we haven't really seen much of yet.
No, and they all meet in college, right?
I assume. Well, except Luigi.
Except for Mario and Luigi, right? Yeah, of course.
Because they have a brothership.
Right.
But yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, all right. That's that's good. And at the end of it, does he like so what I think is kind of fun about this is like the individual ghosts that you're busting, like the bigger ghosts, because there's so much flexibility in like how you address them, maybe you get like a grade on like how well you bust them. So
for sure,
like
yeah.
Letter grades, and like as long as you beat them, you get a passing grade. But like you can go for like better. And see, this almost makes me think that he shouldn't be a professor. That he should still be a student, and this is like a study abroad program or something.
Interesting. Well, that's fun because then they could be like ghosts that are like stereotypically European or something.
Right. It could be like some sort of castle university. That
That's right.
Yeah. But I think either way works.
Yeah, I think either.
We don't have to commit to one of these.
Yeah, I think either way would work. I think the important part, really, the crux of this, is that it's hot young EGAD.
I am yes, absolutely, and still professor. Like I do think him being they have to be able to call him professor.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Although if he's working towards being a professor and like the better grades he gets, then he can like actually get a diploma. Like that, I don't know. That's pretty good too.
That is pretty good. Well, either way would work.
Either way works. What are we calling this? So tough because Luigi's Mansion 2 had a subtitle, and then they were like, no, never mind, we don't do that for number 3. And by the way, we are also retroactively not doing it for number 2 anymore.
Yeah, we're just pretending that we didn't do that.
Right.
But I think in this case, they're going to want to put on the tin what they know is going to sell, and I think it would just be called Luigi's Mansion 4 Hot Young EGAD.
Hot Young EGAD is good. I was going to pitch Ghost University. Ghost U.
I do think Ghost U is pretty good.
Although there's some brand confusion there with the Wii U,
Oh yeah.
right? And we don't want to touch that at
No.
all. Ghost College? Maybe, you know what? Let's not overthink it. It's Luigi's Mansion 4, Hot Young Egad.
Okay, there we go.
I think there's no, look, it doesn't sound like the name of a Luigi's Mansion game, but there's some like versions of perfection you just don't mess with.
Right, exactly.
All right. So now for me, game number 4 here.
Yep.
Star Fox. We haven't seen one in a while. Last time that Star Fox games came out, we did get a spin-off featuring Slippy Toad and his uncle Grippy Toad. R.I.P. Star Fox Guard. Weren't as good as you should have been. So I'm going to say Slippy off the table.
Yeah.
Not dealing with Slippy here. But there's a personality on Team Star Fox that is too big and too fun to have gone not in the like primary seat for so long. Of course, I'm talking about Falco.
Mm-hmm.
Falco, like egotistical bird man.
He's got a bird with a mouth on him.
He's got he
is a bird.
He is a bird who does have a mouth on him. That's right. And I kind of want the format of this game to be like any other Star Fox game, except of course that you are controlling Falco.
Yep.
And when you go into levels, Fox always like starts in the lead and you're like in that sort of like secondary position, but the whole game is built around Falco's ego.
Oh, so Fox is still there.
Fox is still there. You're still flying as part of Star Fox. Slippy's there, Peppy's there, the whole team. But Falco, so like ego focused, so doesn't want to be beaten by Fox, that you, instead of being just like graded on your performance in the individual levels, you are graded against the other like computer controlled players. So like every time like Fox gets someone off your tail, you lose some like reputation points.
Oh, so like Falco is like Maverick in Top Gun.
Yes.
Just wants to be the best. That's
He
the
just wants to
important
be the
part.
best, right? And so like if you know you get points from like saving other people or like sniping kills away from them, and then at the end of the level, if you didn't beat more guys than Fox did, you got to play the level again.
Yeah.
Because Falco would not abide being beaten by Fox McCloud.
Oh yeah.
And so like the whole thing is like him, and it's all in his head, right? There's no like external force being like, oh, you failed the mission. No. You go back and do it again because
nobody else cares.
Nobody else cares. No one else thinks it's a competition except for Falco.
Is it new missions or are you just kind of like?
Yeah, new missions.
Oh, okay.
I mean, let's and it doesn't have to be like we can visit a lot of the same areas again, whatever. But yeah, it's a new game, new missions, and sort of more like tuned to this like idea of you have to do better than the 3 other characters.
Yeah. That would be a lot of fun.
And I wonder if there's like room for like a multiplayer component here where like 2 of you are playing as Falcos on the team, right? And you not only want to do better than like the computer controlled players, but like the other human players. I don't know.
Yeah, but maybe you're all just playing as Falco. Like it's like the multiplayer is like a Falco nightmare scenario
where he has to fly against himself,
and still try to be the best.
I mean, that's good, but you could also, if it's like online and everyone's playing like on their own Switch, maybe the game does the thing where it shows you the other players as the other 3 members of Star Fox.
But everyone always playing as Falco.
They're Falco. Yeah. maybe that's the way to
Very good.
To write it. And Star Fox. Okay, so the naming convention for Star Fox games is always like Star Fox and then like a military word, right? Assault, command, guard. I guess Zero doesn't totally fit into that, but so it needs to be a single word and maybe something like competition based or I mean, you already said Top Gun, so maybe this is Star Fox Maverick.
Oh yeah, Maverick. Ooh, very good. I like it.
It's got to be Star Fox Maverick.
So my 4th one is more. This one is just a spin-off. I was trying to, because I only had 3 of these like secondary character games.
Yeah.
But as I was going through the list of Nintendo franchises and trying to like imagine scenarios where you could take a secondary character and make them the primary protagonist, I came upon Splatoon, and it doesn't really lend itself to it, but it did get me thinking about Judd, which is the big old fat cat.
Yeah.
that
Now we're talking about primary Judd here, and
not
not
little Judd.
Okay,
Yeah,
because Little Judd is its whole own thing.
yes,
Right.
living his life.
Right.
But no, we're talking
Slash
about
just maybe like a clone and is jealous of Big Judd and wants to kill him.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all
I
right.
think that's all canonically true.
Okay, great.
So Judd is the big fat cat that at
Mhm.
the end of the
Do, 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 do,
yes,
do, do.
at the end of the battles, the turf wars, Judd is the one who is adjudicating and is like
Right.
pointing the flag in one direction or the other. Did you win or did the enemy win?
Right.
And so what I'm imagining is a game. Again, this is a spin-off. This is not
Yes.
the format of the episode. It's just
Right.
something I thought of. It's just a
We're
bonus.
breaking rank here.
Yes.
Yes.
Where it's it's a small mini game type
Mhm.
thing where your job is like a map suddenly shows up on the screen and you have like 5 seconds
Just to call it?
try to determine which
Wow.
one is because sometimes
Sometimes it's
when
tough to tell,
when the turf
yeah.
wars are close,
Yeah.
it is tough to tell. Like, well, is all that pink ink over there more than like the yellow ink
Yeah.
over on this side? And so maybe that's like the base form of it, and then other things start getting added, like jelly beans in a jar or something like that.
Oh, sure.
And-
So Judd's whole thing is just like
Being able
calling
to,
it.
yeah, Judd's whole thing is being able to look at two things,
right.
and determine which is more than the other.
Or I mean, but like you said, jelly beans in a jar, like where you just have to like guess the number,
Uh-huh.
like look at it real quick. I think probably the final boss would be Javier Bardem's character from No Country for Old Men coming in, flipping the coin and making him call it.
I think so.
Because then if you get it wrong, it deletes your save.
It's like it never happened. Well,
Yeah.
I think what this would have to be called No Country for Old Judd.
Yeah. Yeah. Splatoon isn't even in the title.
Doesn't need it because this would be a sub game within Splatoon.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's right. So this will be part of Splatoon 4.
Right.
Maybe like part of the DLC.
Uh-huh.
And we'll be like, that's what you're putting forth as part of the DLC? That's good. I like that conceptually. What a boring game that would be.
I know. It would be so bad.
So is that your final?
That's my
Okay.
final, yeah.
So I do have a fifth here. This is my final entry here. And Mark, I know you've not played many Fire Emblem games. And in fact, the one Fire Emblem game that you have played, I don't think features this specific archetype. But in a lot of Fire Emblem games, and like specifically Awakening and Fates and Engage, there are these villager characters that you meet, like, maybe like 5 or 6 missions into the game, always like as you are on your way to defend like some other place and like monsters attack a town, right? And you can recruit these villagers. Donald is the sort of like, in my mind, he's the prototypical villager character from Fire Emblem Awakening. And they start at level 1 even when like every other character you encounter has like some amount of experience. They're weak and like generally pretty bad when you get them, but they have this sort of they're almost infinitely improvable and usually reclassable in every direction. So like most characters have a pretty like prescribed upgrade path for like changing their class, and you get a couple different options, like little forking paths where you're like, are you a little bit more magic based or a little bit more like combat based? But the villager truly like can go in any direction. They are a growth character more than anything else. But they're also always these like ancillary characters. I feel like in many of my playthroughs of these Fire Emblem games, they end up dying at some point just because it's too hard to keep them alive. But okay, what if a Fire Emblem game has that be your main character? And so you are in a village that is constantly being attacked by monsters. And so like the first level is just you and the other villagers are fighting off these monsters. And then in subsequent levels, there are like groups of heroes or villains riding through your town and get involved in different battles. And like this happens a couple of different times. And it's always like different whatever heroes on their own mission. And it's not until like 7 or 8 levels in that you can decide to like go with one of them and like finish their story and then return to your village and then like continue it in like all the different directions and like conclude all these other epic stories as you are recruited from your lowly beginnings as a villager.
Yeah, that's fun.
And you could pick which order you do those things in, and really in a way that the Fire Emblem games normally don't allow you to have like total control over how your character grows. Like if you're the dragon or if you're the headmaster of the school, like your role is kind of prescribed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as this lowly villager, like you just gotta scrape it together and like figure it out.
Yeah, and I love that the village is his home base.
Yes.
That's just where he keeps going back to because he's just trying to live his life.
He's just trying to live his peaceful little life. He's got like a pot for a hat, like it's this kind of thing. And loves his village, loves going back to it. Peaceful little life.
He's like Samwise Gamgee.
Absolutely, he's like Samwise Gamgee. And it is weird that the Fire Emblem games are always like the characters are almost always like princes or like
the reincarnation of the dragon.
Yes, exactly. It's like no, humble beginnings here. Let's do humble beginnings.
Yeah.
And then I that also allows for more like sort of a player agency and like crafting the like look of the character and all that kind of stuff. The last couple games have really just been like, do you want the male version or the female version? And then that's kind of it. And you're stuck with that crazy dumb hairstyle no matter what. But if you are the villager, like he can look like, or he or she can look like whatever.
You can make your own crazy dumb haircut.
Yes, it gives you the option.
And everybody else might dislike it, but you chose it.
You chose it. So it's your fault if it's bad. And Fire Emblem games, of course, can have like very ornate subtitles, like Path of Radiance or Genealogy of the Holy War.
That one's good.
Or Thrakia 776 or whatever whatever the numbers are there. So what should this subtitle be?
Because this person is truly just a villager. There's no like reveal that they're a hidden prince.
No reveal.
Yeah, okay.
I mean that they can still be like a linchpin in these stories
for sure.
But just by virtue of the fact that like they joined these armies and got strong with them and like finished someone else's story.
But then they're going back to the village.
They're going back home.
Yeah. Fire Emblem.
I mean, I did say humble beginnings a couple times.
That's pretty
good. What about Fire Emblem humble beginnings? All right, great. Should we review the games that we pitched with their fun subtitles?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah. Why don't you do your 4?
Oh, okay. First, I have Wario Land Treasure Race. This is the Wario Land game featuring Captain Syrup.
Yep, I am starting. It does almost sound like it's a Wario Land karting game, but I like it anyway. Wario Land kart, write that down.
Yeah. Up next is Kirby's Dark Star. This is the Meta Knight game.
Right.
Then we have Luigi's Mansion 4, Hot Young Egad.
Yep.
Where he's either on the cusp of becoming a professor or he is already a professor. But the important thing, those are details that will fall from your mind very quickly because the important thing
is that he's hot
and he's young.
Right.
And he's at a haunted and he's Egad and he's at a haunted university.
In like a castle or something.
Yes.
Right.
And there's like ghosts wearing knight's armor and like French ghosts holding brown paper sacks
wearing a beret. Yeah. But I think the regular ghosts would have to have like they're wearing like a polo shirt and like they're like regular European college guys, right?
Yeah, definitely. I wonder what the European, and we're gonna need our listeners to help us out because I truly don't know. What is the European equivalent of Trevor? Right? If I were to think of a name for a generic college frat boy.
Right. Okay. And that's what Trevor is to you, is the name of our generic. I mean, is it like Giles?
It must be Giles.
Giles.
I'm embarrassed that I didn't know that immediately.
Pierre?
So that's Luigi's Mansion 4, Hot Young Egad.
What about like Giancarlo?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, probably.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We have to
don't
defer
know,
to
but
our
yeah,
right,
uh-huh.
right,
But those are all great guesses.
right. Thank you.
And then finally, of course, just the bonus game that would be bad, but it'll be in Splatoon 4, and it's No Country for Old Judd.
Yeah, it is good though because it's like the new tabletop table turf war.
I mean, table turf is probably fun.
Yeah, no, it is.
This would not be fun,
right,
really.
right. It's like it's less of a game and more of a punishment. I'm not really sure for what.
Yeah. But it would exist.
It would exist, yeah, and that's to be celebrated.
Yeah.
Okay, so my 5 are WarioWare Retro Games Inc., which is the 9-volt led WarioWare game that's all based on retro Nintendo games. And then The Legend of Zelda Blade of Power, where you play as Ganon conquering the underworld. Mega Man K9, where you control Rush, and it's all like vehicular platforming. And all the bosses are like robot pets. Do you think there would be a Furby? Would a Furby be one
I
of
think
the
a Furby would be in there. I think maybe a Furby would be I don't know what the name of it is, but in the Mega Man games, like the big yellow looking monster that shows up in
Yellow Devil is what it's
yeah,
called. But
I feel like a Furby.
That's good.
Man, I'm just imagining like robot long-haired guinea pigs that you have to take down.
It's good. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like,
and their
it's
hair
a good concept.
like gets braided up and they can like helicopter around.
Yeah, and they're like cables or something. Yeah, that's good. Next is Star Fox Maverick, of course, where you play as Falco, and he's very competitive, and you have to be better than the other members of Team Star Fox. And then Fire Emblem Humble Beginnings, where you play as a villager who gets wrapped up in the oversized adventures of other Fire Emblem protagonists.
Very good. I would play all of these, even No Country for Old Judd. I would resent it, but I would play it.
Right, so you could get to the next round of Salmon Run.
That's right.
Right. Or do we think we're going to get Salmon Run in the next version of Splatoon?
Yeah, I think Salmon Run is here to stay.
Yeah, it's just like a part of the game's DNA at this point. Kind of weird that we didn't get like a new game mode in Splatoon 3, right? In the same like foundational way that we got Splatoon or a Salmon Run in Splatoon 2.
Yeah, but that's true. But maybe they're saving it for the like next Splatoon game.
Yeah.
Or maybe 2 is all we'll ever get.
I'm just gonna stay on Splatoon for a second, just because it's sparking we're headed into a new Nintendo thing. It's all very interesting and intriguing. How long into the Switch 2's life cycle do you think we go until we get Splatoon 4 or whatever the next version of Splatoon is?
Yeah, I mean, part of me feels like it's not going to be that long, because,
right? Like within the first year,
because we got Splatoon 2 and 3 not that far. I mean, maybe what was it?
2 came out 2017,
and so the Splatoon 3 came out in 2022, so it was 5 years.
Right.
And so
22, 27, I would bet earlier though.
It does seem like it would be earlier, but only because, but maybe, well, man.
Yeah,
okay.
There's a lot of things to consider here.
Here's what I was going to say is, support for Splatoon 3, like we talked about on Tuesday, is ending this year.
Right.
And so that would lead me to believe that a Splatoon 4 would come sooner rather than later, like earlier in the Switch 2's life. But another thing they could do if Switch 2 is backwards compatible is like do something new for Splatoon 3 to keep that going for a little bit longer, like another content update or more Splatfest or something like that.
Which is something that they could just release with the new content on the Switch 2, and just as long as it's like cross play, right? Like you got to be able to. They didn't do that, or I mean, there was no like crossover between Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2. But that was such like a divorce it from the previous. If you can play Splatoon 3 on the Switch 2, you have to be able to play against people who are playing on Switch 1, right?
Right.
I think you just have to.
I think so too. But maybe they will want to wait for Splatoon 4 until they have, because they've had like they've all been pretty. I would say the jump from Splatoon 1 to Splatoon 2, in my opinion, as a not super deep into the core mechanics of the game, like the minutia of the game. The jump from 1 to 2 felt like a bigger leap than 2 to 3 did.
They all feel kind of small to me.
And I remember
thinking of Splatoon 2 as Splatoon 1.5, and then Splatoon 3
3.
as 1.5.5. You know, like that they're just.
So maybe Splatoon 4 doesn't need to be anything big and crazy, and it can
Right.
just be a more or less iterative sequel.
Right, with like a new hub world and like, you know, start with different weapons and then just like start rolling in all of the old weapons and stuff like that. You know, people love when that old or maybe we get to Splatoon Ultimate. It just launches with like everything that's been in all the Splatoon games.
Oh, interesting.
And then adds to it with DLC packs, just like Smash did. All right, and because you know, like that's what Kart was this generation, and that's what Smash was. But maybe that's what Splatoon could be.
Feels too early for it to
Does
be
feel early,
a Splatoon's thing yet. Like Splatoon doesn't feel concluded yet.
right? It's a work in progress. So maybe the next one has to be weird, like a departure, right?
It does feel like Splatoon would be due for a spin-off game because
Yeah.
Splatoon is so big.
Right. No Country for Old Judd.
Yeah, but one that's fun.
Oh, okay. All right, Mark. Let's close this out. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Thank you so much to our 16-bit patrons, Connor McCabe, Patrice Millette, and Kyle Seaborn. We appreciate you. We appreciate everyone who's listening to the show right now. If you are not in our Discord, you should get in there. And because I would love to hear other people's suggestions for this exact thing that we've been doing the whole time, but I can't describe in more than two clumsy sentences. Fewer than two clumsy sentences.
Yeah, and in this year of ladies,
yeah,
we I'm sure there's other ladies that could be pitched.
Right. I don't think I pitched any ladies. Oops. Get in the Discord. Email us Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com.
and I will send you an invitation. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.